Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the GM. It is your guy, Boulanger, and up next, episode 5 of The Death Sentence, the conclusion. Do me a quick favor, hit like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you get updates when we upload new content. Let's go. So, first and foremost, man, what I want to say is I appreciate you guys, those of you who watch the videos, man, who interacted with the videos, who made comments on the videos, even when you didn't agree with the sentiment that we were communicating through this series of videos. Um, Now for some closing remarks. You see, we believe here at the GM that a quarterback being labeled a dual threat quarterback at the beginning of his career is the death sentence, as we've stated many, many times before. But let me clarify a little bit more. You see, when a quarterback is labeled a dual threat, he's going to be treated a certain type of way in the NFL. He's going to have a certain OC and a certain type of offensive system he's placed into. That begins the first um, time that this quarterback is going to be being limited, right? What's said about the dual threat quarterback is that he has great ability to make plays with the ball in his hands, but he has marginal skill as a passer. So the passing game must be developed in order for the quarterback to become even more balanced, right? For a team to rely more on his arm than on his legs. The unfortunate part, it seems, is that the dual threat quarterback um, is not always given the weapons that he needs to be successful, and he's not coached. And I highlighted the difference in coaching between when Vic was in Atlanta and when Vic got to Philadelphia with Andy Reid and how all of his numbers improved. I showed the difference in coaching when Cam Newton was a 60% passer, but when he got hooked up with Norv Turner, he went to a 66% passer, right? You see, the difference is the coaching. So I don't want to, I'm not going to belabor that point or argue that point any longer. But what I will say is this: we have to be honest at this point, um, and say that the dual threat quarterback must die, especially in the context with how the dual threat quarterback is being used. A quarterback should not be his team's leading rusher. A quarterback should not be second on the team in carries. That is too much of a burden to play two positions, but only be one player, because that's essentially what the dual threat quarterback is asked to do. I'm not talking about the mobile guy who can make plays with his feet. I'm talking about a guy who was used as an integral part of the run game. Okay. And so when you're asking that quarterback to split between two positions, he never becomes a master at one. Okay. That's why the dual threat guy seems to struggle with some things, mechanics, decision making that he struggled with in his first year, his second year, his third year. It's because he's never going to master the passing game because he's being split between two positions. See, when a quarterback by the time he's done with 5 years of ball, if he has 500 plus carries, that's the same kind of rate as a two back system, right? That's the same kind of carry numbers as a second running back in a two back system. That should not be the quarterback. I understand that the injury rate is pretty high in the NFL. In fact, you could say if you play ball long enough, everybody's going to be injured. But here's the difference. Quarterbacks have an injury rate, running backs have an injury rate. But when that quarterback has to play both, the best runner on the team and the quarterback, his injury rate goes up. It only makes sense because he's playing two different positions basically. A quarterback shouldn't be running a QB dive right up the middle. Should not be doing that. But that is what has been happening for Vic in the past, Cam in the past, and Lamar Jackson. And we've also seen that with Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields, and also Josh Allen. If I'm the fan bases of these teams, I'm screaming loud not to use my quarterback as the second best runner on the team. I want to bring a running back in to be that second best runner. I don't mind, and I'm not saying that they should eliminate a quarterback from running the ball. I don't mind the quarterback running the ball, but the fact of the matter is, 120 carries per year, that's too much. That's too much potential to be contacted. That's too much hits. If you take those runs, a potential to be hit. You take the hits that's not counted as the quarterback throws the ball, and then you take the sacks. Man, that's a lot of hits in a year. That's why it looks like the dual threat guy runs down at the end of a year, and the pocket mobile guy and the mobile guy is still going strong a lot of times. You see, the dual threat quarterback must die. That style of playing a player must go away if he's going to have real longevity and be a franchise cornerstone. When you take guys who are just pocket guys and you look at Brady, played to 45, Manning played late to his 30s, Breeze played late to his 30s, Aaron Rodgers, who is a mobile guy, is knocking on 38, 39 years old. I can't remember which age he is. Philip Rivers played till he was 38, 39 years old. You know why these guys can do that? Because they're taking less hits. Even if they're mobile, they still take less hits than the dual threat guy. You see, the evidence is right there in front of us. In the same time span, Josh Allen has 200 more hits basically than Patrick Mahomes. Lamar Jackson has 400 more hits, excuse me, more carries than Patrick Mahomes, or essentially 400 more hits. Who's going to have a longer career? See, it's not a question of who's better, Mahomes or Jackson. They both have elite level skill sets, but who's going to be the longer lasting quarterback? It's going to be Patrick Mahomes because he's not having those same level of hits. Buffalo, who's going to last longer, Mahomes or Josh Allen? It's going to be Patrick Mahomes. Why? He's not taking those same hits. And every other quarterback who takes less hits because he's not having to carry the running load is going to have more longevity in this league. A quarterback cannot endure the level of punishment that these dual threat guys are being asked to take on, being both the quarterback who gets sacked and gets hit when he releases the ball and gets tackled as a runner. You're not supposed to take that kind of pounding playing two positions. I'm okay with a quarterback scrambling left or scrambling right, or even taking off running if the running lane opens up. I'm okay with these elite level guys who got elite level speed and things of that nature. I'm okay with them getting 3 to 5 runs per game. I would like to see more like 3 or 4, but I'm okay with that. But when you get up to 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 and 12 runs per game, that's too much. It's too much of a risk to use your quarterback like a running back. It's too much. The dual threat guy has to go. These guys need to move more into the mobile quarterback. I think the traditional guy, the guy who just stands in the pocket and delivers the ball, I think that guy's going away for sure. I think the dual threat guy is still real prevalent, but I think he needs to go away. And I think we're at some point we need to either see just the pocket mobile and the mobile guys. That's it. Because at least you reduce the amount of punishment your quarterback will take. If you don't think punishment is a big deal in the NFL, if you don't think that the amount a quarterback is sacked, the amount a quarterback is hit, the amount of times he's contacted matters, let's take a listen to our special guest. Let's see what drove him out of the NFL. So let's listen to Andrew Luck explain for himself what was going on as he decided to retire.
Hello. This certainly isn't how I envisioned this or planned this, but I am going to retire. This is not an easy decision. Honestly, it's the hardest decision of my life, but it is the right decision for me. For the last 4 years or so, I've been in this cycle of injury, pain, rehab, injury, pain, rehab, and it's been unceasing and unrelenting, both in season, and off season. And I felt stuck in it. And the only way I see out is to no longer play football.
Let's pause right there. You see, Andrew Luck said that he was in a continual cycle of injury, pain, rehab, injury, pain, rehab. which is one of the major contributing factors to his retirement. Maybe it wasn't the only factor, but it was one of the major contributing factors to his retirement: injury, pain, rehab. There is a huge difference when a quarterback can go into an off season fairly healthy, take a couple of months off to get his body totally right, and then train. But Andrew Luck said he was just rehabbing. You see, the reason why this is important and why Andrew Luck is a great example is because Andrew Luck was contacted or hit more than 500 times in his career between 2012 ending at the end of 2018. So you're really looking at 7 years. Okay. And if Andrew Luck had been beat upon that way, we understand, the narrative around the Indianapolis Colts was that they could not protect Andrew Luck, which is why he took so much punishment. Even when he would get hit and not go down, that's still a hit, that's still impacting his body. And he had continual injury. Andrew Luck is a great example of how a quarterback takes punishment and it weighs on his short term and long term health. And Andrew Luck had the potential to be one of the greats, but being beat upon, not being protected by his offensive line, not being protected sometimes by play calling, and not being protected by the organization. What do I mean protected by the organization? When you got a franchise quarterback, you build an offensive line in front of him in order for him to stay healthy or as healthy as possible. We understand that injuries will happen, but in Andrew Luck's case, he was getting injured even though he's not even a dual threat guy. He was more of a pocket mobile. He would jump over into mobile quarterback every now and then, but the level of impact he was taking in his short career is not even comparable to what the dual threat guys have taken. I showed you the 727 carries for Lamar Jackson. I showed you the 132 sacks for Lamar Jackson, which means he's been contacted over 850 times. And he's not near the build of Andrew Luck. Now, Cam Newton is, or was rather, but when these guys are being ran like that as a dual threat quarterback, it's taking an impact, even if that guy gets up off the ground. If he was tackled, that's a hit. If he was knocked out of bounds, that's a hit. When he's hit, when these quarterbacks are getting hit in the backfield, that's a hit. That takes a toll on their overall wellness. Maybe they don't leave the game holding their shoulder, holding their elbow, holding their knee, but these hits pile up on the quarterback. Case in point, Andrew Luck. Let's listen to a little bit more of Andrew Luck.
It's taken my joy of this game away, and this. Sorry. I've been stuck in this process. I haven't been able to live the life I want to live. Taking the joy out of this game. And after 2016, where I played in pain and was unable to regularly practice, I made a vow to myself that I would not go down that path again. I find myself in a similar situation, and the only way forward for me is to remove myself from football in this cycle that I've been in. Come to the proverbial fork in the road. And I made a vow to myself that if I ever did again, I would choose me in a sense. It's very difficult. I love this team. I love my teammates, the folks in our building, the fans, the game of football. And as part of this team, as a member of this team, and because of how I feel, I know that I am unable to pour my heart and soul into this position.
The reason why I showed you that Andrew Luck clip is not because Andrew Luck is a direct comparison to the historical guys, Vic or Cam, not that he's a direct comparison to the present guys playing Lamar, Fields, Allen, and hurts, but because he's a prime example of a quarterback who took a beating, a quarterback that the organization didn't protect appropriately, a quarterback whose offensive line didn't protect him, a quarterback who was sacked 177 times, a quarterback who had 300 plus carries totaling total contact over 500 accounted for. That doesn't mean that's how many times he was actually hit. And that beating took Andrew Luck to a point of retirement within 7 years of his career. Andrew Luck is in no way, shape, or form has been used like the guys I've mentioned over the course of these 5 episodes. Lamar Jackson, in contrast, has 727 carries, 132 sacks, which means, again, contacted over 850 times. That's what we can prove. You see, Jalen Hurts, over 370 plus carries already, 77 sacks, been contacted almost 500 times already just in 3 years. Justin Fields has over 91 sacks, I believe it is, and over 230 carries in his short 2-year career. What I'm saying is this: if Andrew Luck, who is bigger body type wise than these guys I just mentioned, him and Josh Allen are very comparable. But the point is, if Andrew Luck, with his size and his girth, if he threw in the white flag and had to leave the league, and he's not had the volume of carries these other guys have, then think about the punishment these guys who have 500 plus carries in a 5-year span. You see, that's putting your quarterback in unnecessary harm's way. It is. You see, I understand they have an elite ability that you need to utilize, but not at the rate of 5 and 6 and 700 carries. You see, there's no way a quarterback can last a 10-year career. I understand what the injury rate is, as I mentioned before. But at the quarterback position, you understand, they should have more longevity than 7 years. If you do a right comparison, okay, Andrew Luck left the league in 2018 so he had a 7-year career. Cam Newton, at the end of his 7th year, his career went downhill from that point. His 7th year would have been 2017. His career continued to fall downhill at that point. Why? Took a very similar beating. What I'm saying is that the dual threat quarterback must go so that these guys can use their passing ability and running ability in a more constructive and productive way. Or these young guys, such as an AR-15, such as a Bryce Young, such as a Will Levis, these guys won't make it. See, I understand that when a quarterback is running around and making plays and gaining 100 yards a game, and maybe sometimes they might go for 125 and all those kind of things, that looks real good. That makes the fan base feel real good because the quarterback is making plays. But then in his 5th year, when he's injured on a simple play, you wonder, well, man, this guy must be injury prone. But that's not so. He's taking a beating, and his body's saying, hey, I'll submit. Because the body in and of itself is not made to take that kind of impact over and over and over again, even when you are a prime athlete. The pocket passer, the traditional guy, and the dual threat guy must be molded and melted into one, the mobile guy, such as the Aaron Rodgers, the Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, those guys. Those guys have a potential to have a long career in the NFL because they're not going to take the punishment the other quarterbacks take. Listen, I'm your guy Boulanger. This is the GM, and we're out.